Women in Technology Month. I am here with three of my favorite people at Newspire to talk about our experiences as women in the technology space. And so before we jump in, I want everyone to introduce themselves. Let's start with Maria.
Sure. Hi, guys and gals. My name is Maria Graham. I'm a senior account executive here with Newspire. And of course, pleased as punch to be chatting with these lovely ladies this afternoon.
Marcy.
My name is Marcy Elder. I am product manager here at Newspire. Been here about 3 years. I work heavily with our development and software engineers, and I am in the role of jack of all trades / voice of the customer / whatever I need to roll up my sleeves and get done that day.
I love it.
Very excited to be here.
And Beth.
I am the ServiceNow and data analytics manager. I primarily support our operations teams, but I will support anyone and everyone at Newspire when it comes to performing data analytics or ServiceNow.
Yeah. Have you or Maria been here longer?
Maria.
Maria,
One
what
year
is it,
longer
11
than
years? 11, 12 years?
11,
Goodness gracious. Beth, you're right behind her.
10.
Yeah, I think I was probably a month or two behind Maria.
There you go.
Look at
Yeah.
that. We have longevity here.
Every role that I know of.
Well, I'm Francie Dudgery. I'm the Senior Director of Content Marketing and Corporate Communications, and I have been here since October of 2021. Yes. So about a year and a half. I know it's like it all runs together because it's been pandemic, and I'm not good with time. And so what I do is I manage content for the company. So that can range from website, blogs, sales enablement materials, ebooks, that kind of thing, as well as corporate communications. So that's all our work with the media, PR, and analyst relations.
I have had no aspirations of working in tech. I have a creative writing degree, but I actually didn't go to college for that either. I went to college for musical theater, and that did not work out for many reasons. Very bad at that.
That's amazing. Were you singing?
I
or
heard it's an
more like
easy field to like
stagecraft?
break into.
I sing, but I am really terrible at auditions, which is kind of important. So that didn't all work out, but I can write, so that worked. So I did that. I've lifeguarded. I had a business training, walking and watching dogs and cats and an occasional very angry parrot. I
know she was a
Nanny?
professional haunted house character.
Oh, I did that too for 10
Get
years.
out of here.
Where
That tied in with the theater completely.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could do, and you don't make money doing that, and there's no involved. So that's a terrible career path. Let's see, what else did I do? I was a nanny. I worked in a spice and tea retail shop in local West Coast Michigan coastal towns. I worked at a realty office. I worked in a manufacturing and material handling place. And then I moved into an MSP, so managed service provider, as a project manager. So that was my first ever foray into tech. And I had to learn literally everything that I do today. I had to learn by doing. So
I think that says a lot though, because you're in product now and you started in tech late. So I think there's this misconception that if you're going to work in tech, you have to like be ingrained in it from the time you get out of high school, college, what have you.
College career path from the day you're God, no. You need to be a creative problem solver.
That's right.
That is it. You have to be curious. You have to want to grow and learn and be a creative problem solver. You can do anything. If I can do tech, anybody can do tech.
Who's next? Who wants to talk about their backgrounds?
there you go.
Get it.
I have been in Newspire for a long time, so I haven't really worked anywhere else in tech. And before this, I bartended a lot at lots of.
Oh, I did that for 8 weeks too.
So
This-
I
this-
bartended and did that for a very long time. And I remember I don't like technology, so I appreciate it. And I think it's fantastic. But like as a user, I am probably the number one customer of corporate IT here at Newspire, so I'm not great. I don't know how to, like, there's a situation happening right now where my text messages are on my laptop and it's really stressing me out because I can't focus and I can't figure out how to get them off. So that's like me when it comes to technology. When I got hired, I don't know why they did that. I thought I failed all of the interviews. Our old CEO asked me some question. I didn't know who he was because this is like the website was so old. There was no pictures or back, like you couldn't research companies. Like it was so, Beth, do you remember our website? It was so old. And all of a sudden I'm in an interview with this gentleman named Sailor Phrase. He walks in, he's wearing like shorts and flip-flops. It's February, it's super cold. I don't know where he was coming from. And he sat down and he asked me one question, and it was, if I had a penny and the 99 times it went to heads, and what would it be the 100th time? And I answered and explained why, and he said, okay, and then you left, and then I got hired. So that is what happened. But I got hired as an intern. So I started as an intern. I did that for like 3 days because I sat back by the sales team. And I just was like, this is kind of like bartending. It's like, you want a glass of wine, you're gonna leave with a bottle, or you want like spaghetti, but you're gonna leave with a porterhouse type of situation. And it was really fascinating listening to the people that were then there making dials and such. And so I just started asking questions, and within a few days I was promoted, and then away we went. So I don't have
That's incredible.
I just slung martinis, really.
But I think it's showing like you don't have a traditional like path
No,
to tech. And
No.
that's actually served you really well.
it has. And it's actually really interesting because now if you listen to me, like I'll get off a call sometimes and I'll be like, did you guys hear me just now? Like, I know what I'm talking about. I can't use any of it, but I know what it does and how it works. So it's like kind of
Amazing.
funny to see how much has changed in the last decade.
100%. What about you, Beth?
I used to do interior plant maintenance. Go in, water plants after hours, during hours. After that, I was a stay-at-home mom for about 10 years. Had 3 kids that I took care of, and then I got a role as a 911 dispatcher.
Ooh,
Did that for a little while. So I've been in a call center. And I got a job at Newspire as a tier 1 technician. So I went to another call center. I did that for about 2 months, and then I became the manager of the tier 1 team. And then from there, I've had a number of roles at Newspire, all in managerial roles, various teams, various topics. Like Maria, just
Yeah.
seen a lot of changes and moved really fast from those skill sets that I had from before.
that's cool.
Fun
Yeah,
fact,
the 911 thing, I'm
Beth's
like,
daughter worked at Newspire.
oh, your daughter worked at Newspire.
She did.
She did. She worked at the front desk for a summer.
Oh my
She sure
goodness.
did.
So I
Maybe
would think
plant there.
the 911 background, like it would have trained you to work in a stressful environment. I would think, because
Yeah, absolutely.
Again.
Work from home.
that's absolutely right.
He didn't
Amazon
even say
just
hi
came.
back. He couldn't hear me. It's fine. It's relative.
Fine.
911 was a job that was stressful, and it is something that took a very distinct personality to control a call. And sometimes that's what you need in tech if you're helping customers. They're calling you, asking for help. And that's all you got to do is give them that help and understand, like, hey, I'm glad you called me. I'm here to help you. And
Mhm.
to take ownership of that.
I remember when Beth started, one thing that I noticed when she took over the managerial position in that role was we're dealing with a lot of folks that don't necessarily or are not necessarily taught, we'll call them soft skills.
Mhm.
They're taught engineering skills and like the technical skills that are required for the job, but the soft skills side of things was something that I don't think like existed until Beth kind of took over and kind of mentored people on like, hey, if they're calling you, they're having a real bad day right now. We need to figure out like how to help them and make sure they have a good experience. The other thing Beth did really, really well, and I think she took it from her call center time with 911. Sorry, I'm speaking for you, Beth, but these are my observations. We didn't have a great way to be like, are we meeting SLAs? Like it didn't exist really to an extent. We had a really hard time tracking, monitoring, and then reporting back out to some of our strategic clients how we were doing with that. And I think if I remember correctly, Beth, you were kind of an integral part in kind of building some of that out within that group, specifically for that tier 1 group.
Yeah, it was something like we didn't have a way to measure outcomes. So how did we know we were being successful? And how did people know they were being successful? So even the individuals just needed to know that they were being successful with what they did, our employees, not just our customers. And that was something I think we were lacking before, that I was able to, talk to people, coach them, understand what we were measuring success by.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Amazing.
Oh yeah. So I got a degree, 2 degrees, journalism and Spanish from the University of Kansas, go KU Rock Chalk. And then I started at an educational nonprofit doing their PR and marketing. And it was one of those things where there were very few people. I didn't have a lot of guidance. So I kind of made stuff up as I went along. And then, so that was in Kansas City. And then I moved to Denver and got a job with Dish Network, which I still have a lot of friends there. It is a challenging environment. I did public relations for them. And I really enjoyed what we did as a business. But I would say from that job, I learned a lot around the importance of supporting others and culture, because that was the example of what not to do.
Yeah, that's like the nicest way to say that they were shitty.
Yeah, like it was rough. I did meet my husband there though. So, and like I said, I have a lot of friends who either still work there or used to work there. And it was almost like we were in the trenches together. So we're like friends for life. And then I went over to Level 3, which was a network company. They got acquired by CenturyLink and now they're called Lumen. And so I worked in media relations there and did a little bit of CX, marketing and communications. And then my last job before this was at a childcare management software company, heading up their content, events, and brand. So I didn't start out in tech per se. And quite honestly, I'm not a tech person like Maria. I am much more of a communicator. And how do we take this information and distill it down into something that the average person can understand? And but I really enjoy it because it's always changing and there's always something new to learn.
Perspective. Why would we only have half of a voice? Why would you only have one perspective of a person? Same way you don't just, one race in tech or one like income level bracket, anything in tech. So you can have that perspective, which translates to the perspective of the people who need to use the tech or buy the tech or interact with the tech.
Yeah.
I think to dovetail off that, it's the perspective is huge, but so I'm the tip of the spear. So I hear what the market is saying, and we're getting to a point in just when people are looking to consume services from somebody like a Newspire, one of the evaluation criteria they look at is who's on the leadership team. Because if it's all white, middle-aged men, that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for, this is literally feedback that we get. So they like having diversity because that does add to perspective and ways of thinking. But also I think that's client facing, right? But also internally having diversity allows us to ensure that we're thinking about our employees and our colleagues and our staff and ensuring that they've got what they need to be successful, that we understand and can relate to these people. And we make sure we've created a positive kind of like culture within the organization. Because I think We're not a point solution company. We're a services company, and we have to make sure that our clients have a good experience. And if our employees aren't having a good experience, then the clients are ultimately going to see like reflections of that. The other thing I will say is like women in tech, we are small but mighty. Like I think all of the International Women's Day stuff that was posted, I think there's something like only 70 female leaders. You guys seen the image of all the cybersecurity companies out there, right? There's thousands.
Yes.
Only 70 of them have women CEOs, 70. Like that's not even 20% or something like that. Super small. But I also think that we work in an industry that is as big as it is, it's very, very small. And I have so many friends, females in cybersecurity in the industry that are so willing to just jump in and help, and they empower each other. And I also think it's good to break the status quo. I can't tell you, I've gone to sales meetings and people would say, okay, thinking I'd bring like my SE, a gentleman, and they asked me to take the notes. And I'm like,
oh no.
You can take the notes. That's not what happens here. But that has changed. I don't get that so much anymore. Like I think, especially, I would say a lot of that has changed like since pandemic, because I think people have broken down a lot of barriers as a result of that. But I just think more women in tech adds perspectives, adds that diversity. And I mean, we rock. Like we
100%.
Like we're totally amazing. So
Concur.
And you make really good friends, and it's easy to, and we have different skills, right? We have soft skills, we have attention to detail. We have a lot of different things that maybe, I have a seller I connect with. He's awesome. He's out of Arkansas, like best in class seller. He's the total opposite of me. And we meet every second Tuesday of the month, and we sit there, or every second Friday, and we sit there and look at each other's stuff and we talk, and I'm like, you missed this. And he looks at mine, I missed this. And it's just, we lend different focus, and it's never a bad thing. So I just think that was my really long-winded sales answer.
It was great.
I agree with you, Maria. In fact, like what you're talking about, meeting with your colleagues on what you've missed, I can recall the note taking. Beth, you take the notes this time, and going, you know what? I'll take them this time, but next time it's his turn. And teaching them, by example of, hey, your turn to take notes. We all have to take notes. I don't take notes just because I'm the woman here. We all have to do it. It's all of our responsibility. And learning from each other in that way. And I think that's something we've been able to do really well at Newspire with our male colleagues, is they're curious to learn too. And they're very open to our ideas.
Yeah, I think we did luck out in terms of our company in particular, because it's pretty inclusive and people are open-minded and stuff like that. But I've worked in environments where that was not the case, where, I mean, it was misogyny on steroids. And, it's that a good old boys club, like, hey, sweetheart, darling, that kind of stuff, where like, if I'm good friends with a guy and he says that, that's not a big deal. But it's like the older men who are like, you don't know what you're doing. You're here to sit and take notes and look pretty. And that's the value you bring. And I think, if anything, that motivated me to work harder. And that's the thing too. I think as women, we work harder because we have to.
We have to.
You think about people of color, they have to work even harder.
Yep.
So it's like, and I'm hoping, we're starting to see that equity gap closing, but we've still got a long way to go. And I think, women in tech, we're smart people, we bring empathy, and I feel like we can build relationships and we can help drive that kind of change that we need, because having that perspective in this industry, particularly an industry that moves so quickly and changes, I think it's important that women are part of that, in fact, driving it, because I think when we all work together and we treat each other as equals, we can get a lot more done. But there's still there's still remnants. And, if you look at industries like oil and gas, for example, I have friends in oil and gas, but like, it's, certain industries are a bit, they're Luddites when it comes to treating people equitably. But I think in technology, we've realized that, that's not going to work for us. And women are really good in this industry and should be leaders. And the 70 companies you talked about, it doesn't surprise me that the stats are, we make up 28% of the tech industry workforce. But I think it's about changing the perceptions. Like if I'm somebody who's not sure if I can get in, and we'll talk about this in a bit, but just as a, kind of precursor, if I think I'm, somebody who's not technical and I'm seeing that, well, there aren't a lot of women in here, so why would I even try to get in there? Because I'm not going to do well. We've got to change that. We've got to change the perception that you have to be super, super analytical, or you have to do these certain specific things in order to work in technology. It's not the case. There's a range.
You don't have to be a robot.
You don't have to be a robot.
The other thing I think that we have to understand, like, yes, we're talking about women in tech, and but tech, there's a lot of different roles you can have within that field, but more specifically, when you start thinking about cybersecurity, cybersecurity is not technology. So cybersecurity is totally different, right? So like cybersecurity encompasses a lot more. It's a business problem. It's not a technology problem. And so specifically to cybersecurity, and if it were me and I was non-technical, that's where I'd start, because you can do a lot of different things that aren't necessarily, you need to be a technical wizard and a guru, because there's a whole lot of different cybersecurity is no longer just, it's not an IT function. It is a business function, and the whole business needs to worry about it. And so we as cybersecurity professionals and organizations have to have people that, yes, are pushing buttons, and yes, are plugging cords in, and yes, monitoring and responding to stuff, but you also have to have people that can speak business speak and help these people navigate situations in their own environment. And you don't need to be technical. I can do that. Like, and I'm not non-technical, I'm not super technical, but so to me, that is the nice thing about cyber is it's a much larger discussion, I think. And it's going to be, if that makes sense.
Well, and I think, like, when I was at level 3, we started the Black Lotus Labs, and the idea, like the image was, it's the guy in the hoodie, and it's like, just that very traditional type cybersecurity. And so it was inaccessible, I would think, in the way.
Let me type on my keyboard without ever hitting enter and use a mouse. Never. I will hack into your mainframe.
Yeah, it's like, and so you're like, well, I don't want.
And it's very dark. Everything's in a dark room.
I don't want to be in somebody's basement all day and coding and all that stuff. Like, that does not appeal to me. And I think that's another thing that has changed, is that with more of us getting in the industry, we're showing that, like, it's not just that, like, it's actually rarely that. It's really a lot more.
I had a different experience, though, that I came not knowing. I knew very little, almost nothing about cybersecurity when I got this job. Like, I came into project management here, and then I knew I could do. But cybersecurity, I'm like, I learned everything I needed to know about my last job once I got there. So I'm pretty sure I can do this. That was it. I didn't know anything. I didn't know that it was, business function, that it was larger than a very heavily like certified tech engineer base. I had no idea that there was so much more to it when I joined. I just kind of got found and fell into my role here. So that was my perception, is that it was inaccessible, and that's not been the case. I mean, especially here, finding people who are great people to work with, who will teach you or who will let you ride along, where you can learn things. And as long as you're willing to learn, it doesn't matter what you do or do not know, as long as you know you are capable. And it doesn't have to be capable of being exactly like this engineer over there, or being like the Silicon Valley version of a tech employee, where you've got these, like, I've been working in this programming language for 20 years, that's only existed for 5 years type qualifications. That doesn't have to look like that. So that was new for me. So that's kind of that outside perspective.
In fact, that's a good point. Like, if you look at what the market's doing, the way that tech companies are interviewing, there needs to be a paradigm shift. We don't need degrees. We don't need 5 years of experience. We don't need any.
You don't need take home.
We don't need take home exams. That has got to, like, we don't need an 8 interview. I know somebody that just interviewed for a cyber company. 8 interviews this gentleman had to go through. 8.
8. That's too many. Please.
We have an unemployment issue here, or not an unemployment issue. We have
Negative
a
unemployment.
negative unemployment issue.
Yeah.
Like, let's stop making it so challenging. And if the 4 of us can do it without any, like, I mean, I was so like, I was drawing pictures in a notebook my first day of a house and calling that a network. And then the front door was a firewall. That's where I started.
Perfect.
Fine. It's perfect. If you are hungry and you are willing to learn and you can adapt easily, you can do any of these things. But I also think the onus is kind of not just on people like us that are kind of like that, but if firms and companies are having a hard time finding talent, then make it easier, for crying out loud.
Yeah, pull from other industries, because if all of us are great examples of pulling from other industries and having super successful career tracks with that within cyber. I mean, Beth, you have probably like one of the biggest growth paths from a technical standpoint on this call. Like, you have grown and built your technical expertise and certifications and knowledge like crazy, especially with ServiceNow administration.
Yeah, and I think that's something, before I became a ServiceNow administrator, I was looking at a lot of job ads, like what are the qualities they want? What are the qualities they're looking for? And I kept looking, going, no, I don't have that. No, I don't have that. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't have to have every quality on a job ad. I just have to have some of them. And I think that's something that all of us show, is that you don't have to have all the capabilities. And I think that's another thing, like you mentioned, getting the certification. It was something I did while working. I was running another team, and it was something I did simultaneously because it fit into my professional development plan, something I wanted as one of my long-term goals. And I was supported in doing that. And I was fortunate that I had leadership that wanted me to move in that direction as well, and to gain the understanding that I wanted to have. That said, now that I have it, I'm already going, what am I going to learn next? And I think that's something all of us have displayed on this call, is like, what do I learn now? What's next? And that's that curiosity.
I am guilty of this. When I met a gal in a gym, and she ended up being my boss. She was the CMO at the company where I was at before Newspire. And, she was asking me, what do you do? And I'm like, I do marketing, but I don't know what the hell I'm doing really. And she goes, great, I have a job opening for you. And I'm like, okay. And I looked at it and I was like, oh no, I'm like, I don't check off 90% of this stuff. There's no way. And I talked to her about it, and she's like, what are you talking about? She's like, you're great. You can learn these things. You've got a lot of the soft skills and the traits that, I'm looking for. So go for it. And let's interview and see if it works out. And I think women are hesitant, whereas men, they're like, 20%, let's apply.
Yeah. We've said like something that you just said, Francie, though, like all of us on this call, and I've gotten, have all of you met face to face yet? Or am I the only one that's met all of you face to face?
I've never met.
Not met Francie.
We've never met.
Never, Francie.
Face to face.
So I've met all of you face to face. Zoom is a little different. It's always different when you're just on video, right? But I think the other thing, like, we all have really good soft skills, but we're freaking badass, and we break down barriers too. So I think there's something to be said about that. Like, as a female in the industry, sometimes, and I don't even think this is strict to females, but like, there's something to be said about when you see something, you say something, or you don't even say something, you do something, right? So like, I think I could name examples of all of you on this call seeing something in our organization, outside of our, whatever the case may be, but just not even asking, just going and doing what needs to be done, doing it quickly, doing it very, very quickly, very efficiently, and without any need for a recognition. It just needs to get done. This will make it better. And we just get it done, and we do it, and we move on and find the next thing. So I know sometimes that involves having to get a little bit loud, and sometimes it involves having to ruffle feathers. But I think that's another thing that everybody on this call does very well is, yes, we know how to do that side of things, but we also all understand that we have just as much of a voice in the room as the next person, and none of us are afraid to use it. I think that, though, that is a challenge for a lot of women in this industry, big time. And I can remember it being a challenge for me, not at all anymore, but
It's not anymore. I'll get to that.
Francie's like, it's definitely not your problem.
Oh,
Definitely not
fine.
right now. Yeah.
But I do
Wallflowers, how
remember sitting around a table with, and Newspire has come a very long way, but when Beth and I started, we were like the second and third female employees. So there weren't females
Wow.
at Newspire, and there were a lot of wonderful fellas, and none of them were rude or anything like that, but they did know each other, and it very much did have like a good old boys feeling, but in not a bad way, if that makes sense. But I do remember having like I'd been there for 6 months. I was blowing everybody else on the sales team out of the water. So I started getting invited to the leadership meetings. And I would just sit there and not say a word because I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about. I'm 20. I don't know anything about strategy or leadership. But I would start to hear things where they'd say, we need to go after this market. And I'd be like, that's dumb. Here's why we don't do that. But having a really hard time doing that and feeling like I was ill prepared or people weren't going to listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was new to the group. I was the only female in the group, and being very like shy about that. And I had a leader once that gave me the best advice. And his advice to me was, because I said, well, it's really hard. Like he says, I see you outside of work and you're just boisterous and loud and like, you're like the social butterfly and you draw crap, blah, 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 blah. Like basically he called me annoying. Like this way. And I said, yeah, but that's not work, Maria. And he said, there's no difference. You can't have work Maria and you can't have different Maria. That Maria needs to be everywhere. You're going to bury yourself and it's not good. And I remember just starting to act like how I don't, in my social life, I don't care about, if it's a man or a woman or whatever. I have no issue with any of that. But for some reason at work, it was different. And the minute I started realizing that, I would be vocal. I would make myself be heard. And if I really was passionate about something, I wasn't going to take no unless I understood why. And that was the best thing I think ever for my career. Was it didn't take me long, maybe 6 months it took me to deal with this and then just be like, okay. I also know I worked at Newspire, and while it was a lot of gentlemen at Newspire, they were awesome. They were awesome. They were supportive. They were very much like, also didn't know what to do with me because I came out the door hot as soon as I realized I can just be me. This is fine, right? Well, me is a lot to handle sometimes. So I don't know how much of that has played a part in some of this, but I do think that there's probably a ton of women that are maybe want to do this. No, it's definitely a more, it leans towards the male, side of things in terms of how many the equation works or whatever. But also then when you get in, understanding what your vibe's going to be, who are you going to be in this, right? And understanding that you're not going to be anybody different than who you are as soon as we turn the Zoom call off, right?
That's right.
It can be
That's hard. That is hard to do.
Yeah, it is. I did
Really
that
hard.
here. I came from a place where I was kind of pushed down and they didn't know quite what to do with me either. And so I was coming in questioning my own abilities and worth and my voice where it wasn't really listened to. And then I come in here, I'm like, shit, I don't know anything. I know nothing about cyber. I know what a firewall is. I ran projects to install them and run like infrastructure projects, but I couldn't tell you how it works. I don't know why it works for cybersecurity. I have no idea. And I was given space by a bunch of dudes in leadership to find my voice and speak up and have my data-driven opinion based on everything that I've been doing behind the scenes, and put that in front of leadership where they gave me the space to start to build that confidence back that I had a long time ago, and then just start to find my voice as well as my experience. And having men in leadership advocate for women who are showing promise and who are hungry and who do have a voice but may feel insecure, at least to start, of using it, has really benefited me. It's not necessarily the way that I would want, but having more women in leadership would also help encourage it. But that's what helped get me out of my shell, and now I can be that voice for other women, other men coming into the industry. I can be that voice that say, hey, you do know what you're talking about. You can speak up here. Everybody's voice does matter. So those advocates across gender lines doesn't matter who it is, just having that advocate is a big
Yes.
help here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say something I say to myself often when I feel like I'm in the middle of one of those situations where I have to speak up and I have to say what I'm thinking. It's like, you know what, Beth, just say it, but ask forgiveness later.
That's the thing. And my path to getting to where I am has been a rocky one, admittedly. I had a lot of confidence issues because my second job, I basically felt like it was an abusive relationship where it was like I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And, being called a kindergartner by the CEO, those kind of things in my early 20s, I was like, wow, I really am a piece of shit. I must be.
I love for that exact comment.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm trying to prove myself, but then I'm like, I'm an idiot. And, I drank a lot and I'm a recovering alcoholic now. And so I had to I didn't know how to process all of the toxicity. It was very much a bro culture. It was, you throw people under the bus so that you can get ahead. And I thought that's just how it was. I was in my early 20s. I was like, oh, okay, this is what it is. And it sucks. So I'm going to drink my way through it. That didn't work out so well.
I love you so much. I'm not laughing.
No, but I'm just saying.
I'm proud of you for sharing that on a public venue.
Oh, I'm very
proud of you for who you are now and how you grew and came out of that situation.
And that's the thing too. It's just, it's like getting confidence. It's not as easy as just saying, get confidence. Like you don't just get it. Like for me, confidence came from a lot of therapy, getting sober, and then working with women like you all who lifted me up and said, you got this. You're really good at what you do. And it was weird because it's like, I'm not used to hearing that. I'm used to, doing a really good job on something and somebody saying, well, you missed this. You didn't do this. And that is a shit environment. And I think there's been a paradigm shift, at least from what I've seen over the past few years, where it's like people aren't putting up with that anymore.
No,
I don't have to, especially in cyber.
Exactly. So it's like, hey, either create an environment that is welcoming and supportive and nurturing to everybody, or get the hell out of here. Like,
fuck all the way off.
Fuck all the way off.
I was one of the first women at Newspire to get pregnant. Where they had to figure that out, right? Because we were smaller. They had to figure it out a little bit, right? We didn't have a maternity policy thing. We were a small company. They for sure took care of making sure things were fine. But it wasn't so much that part. It was when I came back and I'm now having to pump, and there was not a area for that. So that worked out well for me because I ended up with my own office. So that was great.
Yeah, did you know?
I shared the office with these paper thin walls with this gentleman that works at Newspire, Dan, who's lovely. But breast pumps are real loud.
They sure are.
And you could just try. I'd be like, Dan, I don't want to hear it. And I turn it on and you could hear him in the background going, so funny. But I'm here for that. I think that companies, because then from that, they came and they were like, okay, what would have been better for that? And I was like, a whole
literally anything.
Not a broom closet / not, and also fortunate that we have HR that listened and was like, so how could we have done that better? So there are times where you have to come in, and if you're in a startup environment, you might be one of few, and you have to drive some of those decisions or make hey, I got a bun in the oven. We have a maternity policy here. What is it? Build one real quick. Let's go. You have to be a part of that. So I also think it's not, if you're not willing as a woman to drive change and to drive awareness within your own organization and to be honest about the issues, yeah, I don't want a breast pump in my car. It's 4 degrees outside. And no, I don't want to use the extra bathroom where you guys all shower after basketball because y'all are gross. you got to be willing to advocate for yourself. And so I think that comes with that confidence. Like the second part of that is now you have the confidence, do something with it so that you can be a trailblazer for the people that come behind you, if that makes sense.
Totally makes sense.
But it's hard though, because you'll have the environments where the woman comes forward and says, hey, I need this accommodation, which is completely reasonable. And they'll just say, okay, well, I guess we can do it for you if we have to make special accommodations because you're some weird alien creature and we've never encountered women's problems or issues in maintaining, their career path and staying in the workplace. So that gets to be really hard because there's plenty of women who will encounter a lot of pushback and like mockery for reasonable accommodations.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's
But
why
you have to be willing to try, because if you don't try, it won't change. So that's like the hardest thing, right? Like
that's why you've got your women around you here that if you encounter that, you've got a network, a community of people to help come beside you. So you're not just alone in these environments.
That's right. And you don't have to be an extrovert to do it. I think there's this misnomer that's like, oh, if you're an introvert, you're not going to be talking to anybody, or you're not, and I'm like, I'm married.
Beth and Marcy are super extroverted.
Yeah, it's like, get out of here. You know what I mean? It's like people, we joke.
Well, no, because Marcy told me she can't be my friend unless we're friends for life because it's hard for her as an introvert to make friends. And I was like, I got you. We're
right? It's like,
I can't go through the process of making a friend. This is too many.
It's a taxing process, I think. It can be,
especially if it's me.
No, I actually love that. My best friends are all people who talk for me, so I can just sit back and go, sweet.
That's right. Beth, are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm an introvert.
Yes.
Absolutely an introvert.
Which we so appreciate you coming out on camera.
Coming out.
Right.
Speak and yeah, I'm definitely an introvert. And that was one of the things that I had to learn because I wanted to be a leader. And I had to learn to be more open and be more authentic, like Maria was saying. I think we have the same mentor that said, be authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to let, the normal Beth out with my employees. I like dad jokes. I'm not a dad. I love dad jokes. I love asking people those. So, I had to let those things out at work, and it makes everything better, makes every relationship better.
I have so many mentors.
You don't have to list them all off.
I have external mentors that I've just met in the industry that we've connected or met somewhere and we stay in touch. I'm a big believer, like I was telling Marcy, I was like, I love Second Fridays because they're my networking day. So I had 3 calls today with one person I mentor, one person that mentors me, and then one where we are pretty much in the same place and it's just kind of going back and forth. So mentors are huge. I think Newspire. So I like to do a lot of non-Newspire mentoring stuff because I've only really worked here in the industry. So I need like, let me fact check this on you. Is this normal? Or like I like to get external perspective. I think also clients, I have crazy deep relationships with a few of our clients where they've become mentors. Like when we develop a new service, I'm like, okay, hold up, Francie, I can't give you that. I got to go pitch it to this guy real quick and practice and see how it works. And then I can get you the messaging. Right. And so they've become mentors in a way in terms of helping me be better, but from a client perspective. So it's almost like client market research type stuff. And then Newspire has lended I have gotten so much wonderful mentorship from past leaders, from current leaders, from peers, from all sorts. Everybody here, we have a culture, I think that's pretty kick-ass of I think almost everyone in the company knows when I say, get that to me in Maria speak, they understand I need help. And what you just said made no sense. And I need you to get it in my language. And I can say that phrase to I think anybody in the whole company. And
I've heard that.
Yeah. You know exactly what I'm talking. Marcy does, everybody knows.
I'll know it.
But I think that as a salesperson, and I'm a successful salesperson at Newspire, but I'm only successful because I have so many people willing to help me. And I don't come and ask for help without like I try first. And then and a lot of times when I'm asking for help, I'm like, here's what I think. Am I right? Right. So I almost think that Newspire for the sales team, the whole company becomes mentors because they're all willing to hop on a call last minute before a deal to help me understand, like, am I positioning this right? What am I like? So we're very lucky. I think we're lucky.
I think we did it
Yeah.
on purpose.
I do something similar. I have a personal board of directors. You know, some are outside the company, some are inside the company, some are, you know, family members. That's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I, you know, depending on the situation, pick up the phone and call someone, text someone, whatever.
Oh my gosh, I have to
People
tell
I
you
used to work with.
right.
Oh, story time. Okay.
Okay. So this one time we were trying to do something with Central Michigan University. And they were like, we need somebody to come in and tell the students about cybersecurity and like get them amped up. And we were also trying to source talent from their cybersecurity people or program. So like, for some reason, they're like, Maria, you're going to Central Michigan and you're going to give like a keynote thing to this room of blah, blah, blah.
There are women in this field.
Well, like, but like the problem is I'm like, okay, yeah. And I was told just share your career path and blah, blah, blah. Well, like I didn't ask the right questions. I'm preaching to a room of like red, purple, blue team. Like these are like cyber people.
Oh.
So I have this whole beautiful like deck and I'm like, this is not relevant to you people. So I had to just go up there and we just talked and it was like the most fun hour and a half because I had nothing to say that was going to be of value except for you're lucky. Cybersecurity classes did not exist when I was in college. That was not a thing. There was no courses you could take. You had to learn it after you'd figured out how to do networking and all this other stuff. And then I just said, I just pulled up my phone. I said, here's the unemployment or there's like, listen, here's the you're safe for life and you're going to leave here and you're going to make 6 figures the first job that you go get. Cause that's what the market's at. And it was like the most fun conversation, but they all like LinkedIn me and I still have a monthly call with 4 of them. And that was like 5 years ago.
Wow.
Like, so cool. And they've all gotten careers and stuff. And I think that is so fun.
That's amazing.
And I'm not like the technical person. They're just like, you were so inspiring. And I was like, I just love it. It's very fun.
You're an actual human being. You're not a robot.
You're not a robot. Marcy, do you mentor or have a mentor?
I have mentors. I have mentored, but I don't currently have a mentor. I would have to mentee. I would have to reach out and talk to people. So eventually that does happen. They come my way, but not very much. But I have a mentor here who was the person who hired me. I don't work for him anymore, but I meet twice a month. And then of course, Francie and I have the same badass boss, the first female in the C-suite at our company. So she also mentors me with like, things like executive presence and presenting to boards, things that I would never have the experience to do. So she would mentor me to do that. And then I would go do it, which is the best. Just having people who will give you their experience and then you go get the opportunity and you just go and do it. So it's fantastic.
It's so nice to talk to people and just bounce ideas off of them. I have a gal who I met through Women in Revenue, and she lives in California, Silicon Valley area, and we meet once a month and we talk about things she's going through. She's in, marketing, and so am I. And she shared a bunch of stuff with me that I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know about this. And I've shared stuff with her too. And that's what I think is great about these relationships is she's technically my mentor, but it becomes
at some point it goes 2 ways.
It does.
Like, and it's so cool when you realize like, oh, all right, there's an algorithm. I didn't know that. Thank you.
I have a team of people.
Well,
I heard someone reference this, like I have a team of people. That's insane. What do you mean?
You have a team of people? Tell me about that.
I have my
meditation. I walk every day. I play hockey. I make my mental health a non-negotiable. It is, my self-care is a non-negotiable that I have to do. It's like a prescription. I must go do it in order to be my best self. So it's sleep. It's like, I have this very rigid self-care plan to survive. Is that I can bring my best self to work, and I'm not trying, I don't have to segment myself and my functionality, just be like, I'm gonna white knuckle my way through my job, and then I'm gonna go and hide in a hole and cry with, you know, some ice cream or some vodka at the end of the day. That's not sustainable. And like, I love this career. I love working with you people, and I want to be able to continue that. So that's
Hopefully.
my suit. And there's a bunch of people that are on my team. I just went to acupuncture this morning.
I like
So
that
that's
team.
none of that.
Francie likes that team too.
I do. Maria, what were you gonna say?
I think I have, how do I manage stress? I think this is one area where I siphon things off. I don't like to bitch about work to my husband all the time because I'm known to do that. So I try not to. I have a team at work of 3 fantastic people that we have an ongoing text, like going nonstop, just about this, that, the other thing. And it's very like, not necessarily stressful, but helpful to see like, how's your day going? Oh, it's a dumpster fire today. Mine too. Why is yours bad? And giving perspective on like, okay, yours is worse. I need to calm down. So I lean into my people. I lean into tribe to help manage my stress, but I also lean into getting to Marcy's point. I do Pilates every day, or I do yoga every day, and I make sure, and it's in the middle of my workday, because I think that helps me be a better person at work. I'm not going to take my 5:30 in the morning hour to do it, and I'm not going to do it at night when I should be with my kids. I know you do it early, girl, but I do not. I like to do it, I like to break up my day.
Might be a sociopath for getting up that early, but
I know she's like,
but you also work in Denver time, so we appreciate you.
Yeah.
But so like that, I think some self-care is a big part of it. And this is for me, I am the most weak at this, managing stress. I struggle with this big time. I think I've gotten a lot better over the last probably 18 months, but I have been known to lose my absolute shit and build the burning down, or burn the building down, you know, and leave a path of distraction in my wake. So I have struggled with getting to a boiling point and not functioning well or managing that stress well. I think my professional careers put me in therapy about 6 different times. But I think it's good that I understand that, like, also, this is also part of who I am. Like, I am somebody that I'm fiery and I'm an empath. So when I feel things, I feel all of the things. So it's very like intense, but as long as you can recognize that about yourself and each time get better about how you handled the situation the time before and own it. I think that's another thing women do very well, is own things, like, on better. Didn't do that the best way, or ooh,
Was not my best self in that.
that was not my best moment in life. I think we do actually do a really good job of or at least I know you guys do, understanding like, how could I have done that differently for the next time? But
no, I've never.
but I lean into tribe and I lean into self-care.
What about you, Beth? I mean, you get all these last minute things and like there's a lot of urgency.
I've seen your
world.
calendar. I've seen what you have to schedule in your
Yeah.
day to just be able to, eat.
Yeah.
So I, like a couple of you, do my Pilates in the morning, but before I do my Pilates, I need to get my meditation on. I need to meditate. It sets the tone for my whole day. If I don't get it till lunchtime, I'm sorry, everybody who met with me in the morning. I'm a better person in the afternoon. I agree with Maria, the tribe. I don't know how many times I've messaged someone on Teams saying, hey, I just need to vent for a second. Or they've done the same for me, to me. Therapy, all the things you named, all of them. And I think one thing that it's come to me recently, we always hear work-life balance, and I'm trying to think of it as life-work balance. Life comes first, not work.
That's right. And I also, it's hard, but I also, there was that, The Apprentice, where it was like the tagline was, it's just business. And I hate that tagline.
I do too.
because
Most of my time work.
we spend time with each other. This
Correct.
isn't just, we are human beings.
Mhm.
And
Gosh,
it's not like
so important.
Yeah, it's not like we just, work mode. I'm just gonna
No,
talk
what
this
I
way.
do is probably honestly the largest component of who I am as a person, because I spend the most time here. And that sounds
That's
horrible.
right.
I'm a mother of kids, I'm a wife, but I spend most of my time here.
Yeah.
Thinking about as a human, right?
As a
And so
human.
it's Beth, that is such a great, it's just life balance.
Mhm.
Just life, not even work life. It's just life. And how do you, and the other thing that's challenging, I know we're like almost over, but we also live, all of us are mothers.
Yes.
And even if you're not a mother or a father, this is different than when our parents worked. You're available 24/7.
Yes.
And you're going to respond because that's just how we're wired to think. And it is the most challenging thing to say, hey guys, I'm silencing you and put your phone away. Or like, I mean, am I right? Like it is seriously. So we have a whole different level of thing to like deal with. Even it's gotten worse since the pandemic, I think.
Well, because a lot of people don't have that delineation between work
Yeah.
and home life.
I know somebody that we work with was working from her hospital bed. Like maybe no.
No,
When she was, I'm not talking about your broken leg, Maria, but I'm somebody else. That's a different scenario, which I also still feel about, but yeah, maybe.
I was working in the hospital giving in labor. Like I just can't turn
No.
it. Like
You
it's
guys are
like it's a
insane.
I have to like make a very serious like focused effort to leave my phone in the basement at 5 o'clock and then I don't go get it till the morning. Like it's a problem.
Wow.
I can't turn it off.
Yeah, it's hard. But, I think we're making good progress.
You can do it. You can do it.
You can absolutely do it. And I think for me, it's like, nobody thinks about you that fucking much. So like for me, I
love you.
I would be in
It's true.
meetings and I'd be like, oh, I said something stupid. Oh God, they're all thinking what an idiot I am and blah, blah, blah. No, everybody has their own shit. They don't care
Shit
about
is shit.
you.
Yep.
So just do your thing. Don't worry about other people.
That's mine. Don't care what they think.
Mine is everybody wipes their butt.
Yes.
Everyone wipes their butt. So if you see something, say something. If you don't have what you need, say something. You can't get what you don't fucking ask for.